Hello, everyone. Dr. Frankie here. And this week, I have an interesting topic. But then again, I always think my topics are interesting. Hopefully, you're finding them all interesting. And I want to encourage you before I jump into what I want to share today. I want to encourage you all to comment, ask questions. I love responding to questions. No question is a stupid question. So put it out there. And oftentimes, the topics that I actually talk about are topics that people write in about. They have lots of questions. They're repeat topics that people are expressing curiosity around. So I feel like why not put it out there and start answering these questions? But there's plenty, I'm sure, that I don't cover. So I want to encourage you all to, let me know. What is it? What do you want to know more about? And what is confusing maybe about the topic that I talk about today? Or what do you disagree with? And I will certainly do my best to respond. Thanks for, checking in today and listening to what I have to say. So what's a switch in sex and dating? Okay, we know what it means to be a top and a bottom, but is it really a simple binary with only two options? Of course not, right? Life isn't that simple. Often things are pretty gray. So if you've seen terms like top or bottom in the discourse on dating apps or in memes, you may also have seen the term switch. As you can maybe guess, a switch is someone who, in simple terms, does both. But how does that actually work? Here's a simple, one-stop, comprehensive explanation you need to know to help you better understand what it means to be a switch in terms of both queer sex and kink. So what does it mean to be a switch in queer sex? We know that within the context of queer sex, the fact that there aren't the same default roles as there are in straight sex means that historically, sex partners might choose to explicitly label themselves with a role they prefer, like top or bottom. A top in queer sex is someone who prefers to do to their partner rather than to be done to. If they're having sex that involves penetration, they prefer to be the one penetrating. A bottom is someone who likes to be done to during sex, whether that means being penetrated, made to orgasm, or just generally getting to take a follower rather than a leading role in the interaction. A switch, it follows, is someone who likes both being done to and doing to others. They don't necessarily have a fixed preference where they know they're only interested in one. That's it. Being a switch doesn't necessarily mean you like both exactly the same in a 50-50 split, or that you have no contextual preferences. For instance, maybe you like topping in some scenarios, but bottoming in others, or have one partner you really enjoy bottoming with, but in general prefer topping with new people until you really can trust them. Maybe your preferences change over time. Maybe your preferences change within the same sexual experience. You might enjoy being taken charge of for a while and then decide you'd like to take a turn and penetrate your partner. All of these are completely normal and common ways someone who identifies as a switch might enjoy sex. So what does it mean to be a switch in kink contexts? These terms have a slightly different connotation when we talk about kink than when we talk about vanilla sex. Whereas topping and bottoming in vanilla sex is more about logistics of who's doing what during sex, although there are, of course, elements of character, sexual persona, gender, and more that informs that preference. These roles during kink are more about a power dynamic. One person who consensually gives up control and one person who consensually agrees to take it on. A switch in this context is someone who's interested at times in both giving up control to others and taking control of the sexual dynamic with others. Usually these different dynamics might occur in different circumstances, depending entirely on the individual person. Someone might be turned on by bottoming for masked people, doms, but not with more femme people, or prefer one thing in more intimate relationships and another in more casual ones. While topping and bottoming don't have to be fixed identities that remain in place permanently for someone, that can be true for some people and is maybe more likely to be true in kink contexts, where topping or bottoming might be reflective of someone's baseline sexual turn-on, such as kinky switches are in a truly exciting and interesting position in the dating world, able to move between many different dynamics and possibilities. So wait, switches are real? They absolutely are real. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, there can be some skepticism around switches, much as there are, and can be with almost any in-between identity. Think about how often people secretly suspect bisexual people must eventually choose a side, or that they're really either gay or straight. Similarly, you might have been told that there's no such thing as a real switch, or that people who say they're switches are really just bottoms. Regardless of why people believe this and continue to repeat it, the fact is switches do absolutely exist. Questioning this at best is unproductive, and at worst, rude and alienating to people. So what's the difference between a switch and a verse? You may have heard people describing themselves as verse or verse, so VERS or VERSE, in the same context as switch. Are these interchangeable? Kind of. Verse is short for versatile, meaning someone can literally go both ways. It has its roots in gay male sexual subcultures where people might be communicating to a casual sex partner what sexual role they want to play. It has a similar meaning to switch in terms of vanilla sex between people of the same sex, specifically where it connotes that someone is interested in both giving and receiving. It doesn't translate as well to kink context, though, where top, bottom, and switch have slightly different meanings. Verse, meaning VRS, is a more literal word. How do I know if I'm a switch? You might be a switch if after hearing me talk about this and hearing both sides about like being a top or a bottom, if you don't quite get what all the fuss is about. Both of those things sound good to you. Like, don't they sound good to everyone? If you think back on your most fulfilling, erotic, toe-curling, memorable sexual experiences, and the list includes both giving and receiving in significant ways, that might be a sign as well. If you've been thinking, do we need to pick one anyway? Can't I just do what I feel like and figure it out with my individual partner? That might be a sign as well. To be clear, ascribing to top, bottom, switch frameworks isn't in any way a requirement. It's an optional way of self-identifying that you can absolutely opt out of. The same behavior and interests that define being a switch can also describe someone who just doesn't really resonate with all of this, and that's more than okay too. So hopefully this is making sense, and please share and subscribe to my channel and comment and ask questions, and I am happy to respond. I hope you all have a beautiful week, and I will see you all next week with another interesting topic. Take care.